All right, welcome to the Carl Jackson Show, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. Today is Monday, November 18th, 2024. I got a lot to talk about. I want to start right here with a video of Vivek Ramaswamy over the weekend on Maria Bartiromo's show. He is being called with the Doge Commission, or whatever it's being called. It is Doge. Department of Government Efficiency. He and Elon Musk will be working together to delete some of the federal bureaucracy inside of DC. Let's listen to that cut, por favor, Gabe.
Are you expecting to close down entire agencies like President Trump has talked about? The Department of Education, for example. Are you going to be closing down departments?
We expect mass reductions. We expect certain agencies to be deleted outright. We expect mass reductions in force in areas of the federal government that are bloated. We expect massive cuts among federal contractors and others who are overbilling the federal government. So, yes, we expect all of the above. And I think people will be surprised by, how quickly we're able to move with some of those changes, given the legal backdrop the Supreme Court has given us.
Okay, so that is big news. That's huge news. And I would like nothing more than to delete some of the government programs, the federal bureaucracies that do exist. And listen, I think Elon Musk is obviously a man that can do that, along with Vivek Ramaswamy. These guys have big brains on their shoulders. And they have a lot of courage, and it's going to take that because there is going to be some severe backlash if there's any cutting of the federal government, obviously by federal employees. And sometimes you expect to hear, guys, here's what I want you to brace yourself for. So we won the election. All right. But now it's time to unite. The picks, and I talked about this when I sat in for Dennis Prager's show, or Stacey Washington's television show on the Salem News Channel. I can't recall which, perhaps on both programs. But we have an opportunity to unite the country like we've not seen before behind policies. Personnel is policy. And so when you see Trump picking these picks, all these different candidates that he's picking, all these different nominees to fill these different positions, the Secretary of State, his cabinet, there's 15, I believe there's 15, Secretary of State, the Secretary of Defense, the Attorney General, Secretary of the Interior, Secretary of Agriculture. I believe we're still waiting for that. Secretary of Commerce, Secretary of Labor, Secretary of Health and Human Services, Secretary of Transportation, who has just been named this evening. And I forget the gentleman's name. Watch him on Fox News. All right. Secretary of Energy, Secretary of Education, Secretary of Veteran Affairs, Secretary of Homeland Security, Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Secretary of Treasury. All right. So we are waiting for some of these picks still to be made. And actually, I interviewed the guy's daughter. Why can I not remember this? Anyway, it is what it is what it is. But I'm going to run through a plethora of video for you, and I'm going to make the case that Trump's picks are unifying. Trump's unity picks is what I'll be calling this, because again, I want you guys to brace for the reality that's going to be right now. Everyone's feeling good, right? And I'm going to show you some video because everyone is feeling good. Everybody is uniting. I'm talking about cultures coming together. Some people in media are coming together. Some people in the Democrat Party are starting to make it to make sense. They are embracing the facts, or at least realizing or recognizing that Trump has won the election, and things have seemed to go much calmer than we expected. Although I got some major news for you on the foreign policy front. Let's pray to God that Joe Biden doesn't get us into a major escalation before he leaves office. And I fear he has set the table to do just that. So we'll talk about that in just a second. But Trump's policies, Trump's picks are unifying, because what Trump's picks show is that he's going to return the government back to the people. And that's unifying. This is what you have to get. This is what you have to understand, because it's not going to feel the way that it does today for the remainder of his tenure. Once Trump is in on January 20th, the work begins. The work begins. By the way, I want to make sure that you are listening to the Carl Jackson Show. This is your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. Today's show is brought to you in part by MyPillow.com. The story of MyPillow is a testament to faith and transformation. Mike Lindell, once battling addiction, found a new path when he embraced faith and began following Jesus. In gratitude, Mike is excited to share an exclusive offer with our listeners. Right now, the standard MyPillow is available for just $14.88, a savings that's too good to pass up. There's a limit of 10 per customer, so don't wait to take advantage of this amazing deal. Right now, you can use the promo code Carl to take advantage of that deal. Mike believes God gave him the idea for My Pillow in a dream, and it's designed with your comfort in mind. The pillow holds its shape and adapts perfectly to your unique sleep pattern, helping keep your neck aligned for the best night's sleep. And there's more. Right now, you can take home a 4-piece kitchen set for only $25. Enjoy the new mattress topper for just $99.99, or pick up the luxurious MyPillow bed sheets starting at just $49.98. All you have to do is visit mypillow.com, use the promo code Carl, C-A-R-L. I don't spell it like the communists, or give them a call at 800-858-0263. Christmas is coming very, very close. Obviously, Thanksgiving is right upon us. That'll be occurring next week, obviously. So if you want to buy early for Christmas, go to mypillow.com, promo code Carl, C-A-R-L. Also, I just want to remind you to please keep my friend and colleague Dennis Prager in your prayers. He suffered a serious injury last week after a fall, and he and his family could certainly use your prayers if you are a person of prayer. All right, so Trump's unity picks is what I'm talking about. I want to talk to you about how Trump is bringing together even the media, bringing together culture. We have some video examples that I'm going to show you, bringing together some of the health community, outraging others. I'll actually probably show you the ones that outrage, or the people that are more outraged. But before I get to that, I have to share this because this is very disconcerting. And I'll just get to this right at the top before I go to the videos, because we have to talk about Biden. There are two things that occurred, and let me make sure that I bring up my tip sheet here, because there's two things that I want to talk to you about that are very, very serious. And that you should be praying for. I honestly do not know what Joe Biden is doing in this lame duck session. He's still trying to make a name for himself. Guys, let me tell you why. Just based upon what I'm about to tell you with Joe Biden, why it's so important that Congress controls the power of the purse, and that the executive branch doesn't have the power to be able to send money to places like Ukraine just willy-nilly without congressional approval. I remember when Rand Paul back in the day used to say we need to declare war first and run, Paul, and obviously that's constitutional. But what you see Biden doing is very scary to me. Listen, here's the summary. This is from the New York Times. Biden authorizes Ukraine to use U.S. supplied missiles in Russian territory. Now, why is this such a big deal? Obviously, it's a big deal because this is an escalation in that region, in that theater where so many people, perhaps hundreds of thousands, if not more, have already been killed in that particular war. Regardless of where you stand, this is a major escalation that should not be occurring right now. Carl, why do you say that? Because Trump just got elected to do something different, and yet you have a lame duck president that is determined, honestly, not to necessarily win a war, or he hasn't been for the last several years. This war has been stagnant for the last couple of years, the war between Russia and Ukraine, and it's just been unbelievable. That's why the media has not reported it, because it would have made Biden and Harris look bad. All right. So New York Times reports that this is a big escalation. Biden has authorized the first use of U.S. supplied long range missiles by Ukraine for strikes inside of Russia, U.S. officials said. Now, listen, regardless of how you may feel about this war, if Biden wanted to do something like that, that should have happened early on. But now Trump has won the election. That isn't the route that Trump wants to go. As a matter of fact, Trump is out saying that he wants to make peace between Russia and Ukraine. But you can bet your bottom dollar that right now, Vladimir Putin, while the iron is hot, is going to continue to try and strike Ukraine and take as much territory as possible. But here Biden comes in with this idea now that he's going to give the Ukrainians what they need and use U.S. supplied missiles in order to strike inside of Russian territory. This is not what should be happening while this guy is leaving. I need to do a podcast of all of the things that Trump is going to inherit, because here's what you have to brace for. All right. In 2016, Trump inherited basically a war that was taking place in the Middle East for the most part. You still had ISIS and all that kind of stuff going on. You still had your troops in the Middle East, American troops in the Middle East, and he inherited a bad economy. Guys, I mean, he's inheriting a deep state. He's inheriting a bad economy. He's inheriting a world that could be on the brink of war. I'm not trying to be hyperbolic. I don't want to scare you. I'm hoping that's not true. Perhaps this is just a regional thing, but this is really, really disconcerting. So it says the U.S. supplied long-range missiles by Ukraine for strikes, or Biden has authorized the first use, of U.S. supplied long-range missiles by Ukraine for strikes inside of Russia. According to officials, Biden's decision is a major change in U.S. policy. Why would he be changing U.S. policy when Biden and Harris have just lost an election? Now, I know it's Kamala Harris, but they were rejecting Biden's positions, right? Because Kamala said she didn't have anything different to run on when she went on The View. There was nothing that she was going to be running on that was any different. All right. It goes on to say, and this shift comes 2 months before Donald Trump takes office, having vowed to limit further support for Ukraine, allowing the Ukrainians to use the long-range missiles known as the Army Tactical Missile Systems, or ATACMS, ATACMS, I don't know, ATACMS, I don't know, came in response to Russia's surprise during decision to bring North Korean troops into the fight, according to officials. I think if Biden is going to be doing anything, he should be consulting Trump. He should have the decency to do that, because this is a conflict that Trump is going to inherit thanks to Biden. Now, let me explain to you a little more why this is so dangerous, because the world has been positioned differently since Biden has taken over. I did not know this. I learned today that Biden basically, I knew this to some degree, but basically, when it comes to Latin America now, China just running shop. They've just X'd out, not totally X'd out, but they're the dominant traders in Latin America today. Listen to this. Biden placed in back row in photo of world leaders while Chinese president was front and center. So Joe Biden once again humiliated, this according to townhall.com, in the United States after being placed in the back row during a group photo at the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation Conference, known as APEC summit in Peru. The worst part was the Chinese dictator Xi Jinping was front and center. The 81-year-old lame duck president awkwardly sat in the back row between the leaders of Thailand and Vietnam after arriving late to the photo op. I think he was about 5 minutes late. On the contrary, in 2017, Trump secured a front row center spot for the APEC summit in Vietnam. You guys may remember that video of Donald Trump pushing his way through the pack to make sure that he was in front, to let the world know that America was a top dog. And that's the position that we should be in. But what Xi Jinping is saying is, no, you're not the top dog anymore. So Trump is inheriting a mess. I want you to understand that. I want you to share that. I want you to know that. So all of the picks that we can talk about, and I'll go through some of the names. Here's some of the, I got to make sure I get this gentleman's name. Let me find it real quick. I can't believe I don't know it offhand, because he was a congressman. I loved him as a congressman. What is his name? Good Lord. His wife is on Fox News on Saturday on the weekends. Oh, my Lord. I cannot believe that I am forgetting this gentleman's name. Anyway, it'll come to me. I'll find it somewhere. He was just named the transportation secretary. I cannot believe I can't find that, but I got the other names for you. And that one I will find at some point during this program. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast wherever you go to get your podcast: Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, and Rumble, por favor. All right. So we got the U.S. ambassador to Israel, and I've talked about this before. And we will continue to talk about it as Trump continues to make his picks to fill his cabinet. But this is not necessarily a cabinet position, but the ambassador to Israel, I think, is a wonderful pick. Sean Duffy. Thank you. Thank you so much, Gage. Sean Duffy. Man, I don't know why I could not remember that. So he'll be the transportation secretary, likely. Huckabee will be the U.S. ambassador to Israel. Why do I say policy is personnel? Because everybody is talking about actually, I did do this on Prager's show. And what I did for you is I played a lot of video, and actually I should have played that video for you today. Maybe I'll do it at some point this week, because everybody's talking about the picks, but all the picks represent are what Trump wants to get accomplished. So when I look at these picks, I don't get like, go crazy like a lot of people are, both on the left and the right, quite frankly. I look at, okay, these people are going to accomplish, these are the people that Trump is using to accomplish the proposals that he put out on X last week. He may have put out some. My phone was out. I got to be honest with you. I haven't even been able to download some of my social media, but please continue to follow me anyway. As soon as I get it downloaded, I'll make sure I shout out to you. But he's got John Ratcliffe for to head up the CIA, so he trusts him there. Pete Hegseth. Now, there's been some drama with Pete Hegseth. Apparently, there was a non-disclosure agreement signed by a woman that he had an sexual encounter with back in 2017. She's coming out and saying that there was some type of assault that took place. He's saying, no, that is not true whatsoever. She was the aggressor in that particular case. Listen, I think Pete Hegseth will make a great Secretary of Defense. I do think he has to get the right people around him because he's taking on a big job. But this is a guy that's going to make sure the military isn't woke anymore, and I think that's very important because you got to battle the recruitment numbers. And right now, men are not attracted to a military where other men inside that are supposedly their leaders, or their leaders in the military, can dress like women and pretend like they're women. And it's woke. And if you're white, you're a white supremacist, and there's nothing you can do to get past that. Just accept that. Men don't want. Nobody wants. Our military, whether you like it or not, is predominantly white males. All right. And so when you're trying to recruit white males, if you're trying to recruit white males and tell them that they're racist and tell them that they can be girls too, even when they're signing up to be men, they may not want to go fighting your wars. And then when you get involved in wars that you have no intentions on winning, no plan whatsoever, people don't want to be a part of that. I think that Pete Hegseth can change the atmosphere of the military, the morale inside of the military. And I think the military under his leadership can become a lethal force. The U.S. military can become a lethal force once again. I think that is an excellent pick. You got Kristi Noem, Department of Homeland Security. Listen, I'm not a fan of Kristi Noem. You guys know that. I don't necessarily hate her. I just don't think she's as strong of a conservative as people think. And I don't. That's such a. The Department of Homeland Security, I did not realize how huge it is and how huge their budget is. Overseeing the border and other, ICE and all these and the Custom Border Patrol agents and so much more. I just don't see Kristi Noem there. But who knows? White House counsel Willie McGinley, Secretary of Veteran Affairs, our now former colleague Doug Collins with the Salem Radio Network or Salem Podcast Network. Then you got Doug Burgum to be the Secretary of Interior to coordinate federal policy to several territories. I think that's a great pick for that particular role. You've got Jay Clayton. He's going to serve as the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York. I'm not familiar with Jay Clayton, to be honest with you. I have to do more research on him. You have Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. Todd Blanche is one of Trump's attorneys right now. And some of all this collusion, the New York persecution case. You got the Secretary of, I already mentioned Doug Collins, Attorney General Matt Gaetz. Now, Matt Gaetz, obviously, he's a firecracker. And there's people that are either strongly for Matt Gaetz or strongly against. Now, I understand why Trump made this pick. I'm okay with there being another pick, but I'm also okay, at least for now, with Matt Gaetz being that pick. And I'll tell you why. Because Trump went into office, obviously, back in 2016, where this Russia collusion hoax that Obama, Biden, James Brennan, James Comey, and all of these guys helped to craft. And the guy didn't get to really be the president that he could have been. And he still managed to do a great job for his 3 years. He got duped a little bit by that, by the COVID and his reaction to it. I think the left used some of those Actually, I know the left used some of their totalitarian lockdowns in order to win the election, to change, to modify the way that we do elections in this country, and they were able to take them down. Secretary of State, Senator Marco Rubio, I told you before, I wasn't the biggest fan of his, but I got to tell you, the more I think about it, and especially when you consider how the world is looking at us now, Xi Jinping with Joe Biden sitting in the back, you know what I'm saying? And Joe Biden allowing or telling Zelensky in Ukraine, hey, you can use these U.S. missiles. This isn't our war. Even if we were helping Ukraine, this should be done on the DL. And it should be done with the help of Europe. Now, it's just unbelievable. Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, she said some things in the past. I mean, and obviously you hear it all over the news that I disagree with, regarding Assad. But I do wonder if she could pull this off. I look at Tulsi Gabbard. I'm not exactly sure about her. I don't know. I think she could be great at this. And then I think I could be wrong. I don't know. But I'm willing to give Tulsi Gabbard the benefit of the doubt because she's been bullied by the National Intelligence Agency. So perhaps she's the one to clean it out if she can handle such a large task. Stephen Miller, he'll be great. Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy, Ambassador of the UN, Elise Stefanik. I think she'll be amazing. Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy. Now, there's a lot of things that I don't agree with Robert F. Kennedy. Climate change, gun control. Those are areas I do have to admit I forgot that the Secretary of Health and Human Services, HHS, is over that. First off, there doesn't need to be any type of gun issue under the Health and Human Services, under the Secretary of Health and Human Services. So that needs to be broken off. Perhaps that's something Doge could handle. But if Robert F. Kennedy is not able to get confirmed, I'd like to see Scott Atlas. If Matt Gaetz is unable to be confirmed, Todd Blanche is there. You got people like Jay Sekulow. You got other people that others have mentioned. But I think the appeal with Matt Gaetz, even though a lot of people don't like him, is just you suspect that not only is he going to be loyal to Trump, but he's going to go into the DOJ with an axe. Now, obviously, he's going to have somebody alongside him. And I suspect that's why Todd Blanche was nominated as the Deputy Attorney General, and perhaps some others that he can take some consultation from that he trusts, where he can go in and chop this place up. But we'll have to wait and see. Now, as for the allegations that are made against Matt Gaetz, guys, I don't know the whole story. I do know the report, allegedly this report said that Matt Gaetz, he was charged with, he was not charged with, but accused of sex trafficking, the sex trafficking being that he was having sex with some girls and took them across state lines, not that he was literally sex trafficking. And apparently there may or may not have been a younger girl, 17 years old, that was involved. But the issue is, at least from what I've read, a couple of the witnesses that were accusing him were not credible. This is an investigation that the DOJ apparently dropped a couple of years back. And then all of a sudden, this House Ethics Committee under Biden picked it up again in order to torment Matt Gaetz. So frankly, I don't know what's true. But there have been some House members, Senate members that have spoken out and said, hey, listen, Matt Gaetz was a little hoe when it came to women. I'm just being real with you. Whether or not the allegations about sleeping with a younger girl, I don't know. And I don't know that anyone knows. But apparently, again, the case was dropped by the DOJ because they said the witnesses weren't credible. All right. So that puts him in a place where, listen, Trump wants him as his guy. And if Trump wants him as his guy, personnel is policy. What does that tell you about Trump? Stop looking at Matt Gaetz. It tells you that Trump wants the DOJ cleaned out. It tells you that Trump wants this government cut down the size. What does it tell you? When you look at Marco Rubio for Secretary of State, you can't just look at the names. What do they bring to the table? Marco Rubio is a war hawk. All right. So what does that tell you? Trump trusts him, but it also tells you that Trump understands that the world is a more dangerous place today than it was in 2016. I mean, keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Secretary of Health and Human Services or Robert F. Kennedy, like I said, it means that Trump means business when it comes to the CDC, the NIH, and all of these agencies. Need to be questioned. We need some transparency. And whether it's Robert F. Kennedy Jr. or someone else, again, I'd like to see a Scott Atlas or Dr. Marty McCarty. I don't know if they would want that. I don't know if that department might be too big for them. Border Sergeant Tom Homan, everybody knows that's perfect. I would have preferred him over the Department of Homeland Security. I suspect Trump may have thought that it would have been harder to get him confirmed, but he would be the better guy, better than Kristi Noem for that. EPA head Lee Zeldin. Lee Zeldin is fabulous. He used to be, I believe he was part of the Freedom Caucus. I loved him when he was in office as a congressman, national security advisor, Representative Mike Waltz. This is proof that Trump's between Mike Waltz and Pete Hegseth, he wants a lean, mean fighting machine when it comes to the military. He wants us to be strong again. Caroline Leavitt was named the youngest White House press secretary at 27 years of age. You also have Stephen Chung. He was named the communications director for his 2024 successful campaign. So Trump has tapped him for that. Chung also worked under his 2016 presidential campaign. Who is this from? USA Today. This is from, and then obviously, Caroline Leavitt, her predecessors, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Kayleigh McEnany. She has some big shoes to fill, but she's been really great on TV, and I suspect she will. Now, again, Sean Duffy was picked today for Secretary of Transportation. Who else do we have here? Todd Blanche to serve as Deputy Attorney General. Jay Clayton. All right, we already mentioned that. But there's some good people that are being picked. There are a few questionable ones, but I suspect the Senate is to advise and consent. And guys, I'm not one of these people that, oh my God. Listen, there's an executive branch and there's a legislative branch. And each one of these branches are important and they play their role. I think Trump, for the most part, should get his picks, but they have to go through the process. I'm okay with that. You should be okay with that. But we also need to understand, all right, this is a guy who has won bigly, all right? And he's putting in the people that he believes are going to help him to accomplish the goals or the promises that he made on the campaign trail. Kudos to Trump, because I think he's swinging big. Now, I want to play some video for you real quick and get into these and talk about unity. Basically, this is unity. All right. There was a column that I read in Real Clear Politics. And I believe that Trump's picks are about unity. Carl, what do you mean by that? Because the country is so divided. Guys, I think we're looking at unity in the wrong way. See, we believe that everyone's going to sing Kumbaya and come together. It's just not going to work that way. It is not going to work that way. That's a fantasy world. The nation is too divided. There are too many people. And the media has helped to do this, right? Has helped to divide us, created this huge chasm, if you will, between the left and the right. And they've done so on purpose, obviously, and it has worked. So we're so divided. How do you bring people that believe in that are pro-abortion and pro-life together? You defeat one side and then you advance your agenda. And you advance your agenda for the betterment, listen to me, for the betterment of society and for the betterment of the individual. You do it for the greater good. Let me just read part of this column before we get to some of these videos. I'm sorry. I hate that noise. I need to take that off. Okay, so this was a column that appeared in Real Clear Politics, and I'm not going to read all of it, but I want to give you a piece of it because I thought it was really good. Unity, but not compromise, is the path forward, written by a gentleman by the name of Frank Mill. And I won't go through all of it, but he talked about it really happened. Donald Trump won convincingly, just as he predicted. Obviously, winning brings unity. Winning brings unity in the first place. People love winners. Look at how many fans the Kansas City Chiefs have. I had never been a Kansas City Chiefs fan, and then they start winning like crazy, and it's like you can't help but to pay attention to them. The same was true of the Bulls back in the the early 90s. I mean, I was a Lakers fan through and through. You know what I'm saying? Back in the day, Magic Johnson, Byron Scott. Michael Cooper, James Worthy. I mean, you Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I mean, and then Michael Jordan comes along, and it's like, dang, this dude is this dude is just bad, and you couldn't help but people can't help but to like winners. Winners are unifying. But this guy talks about Trump winning, and he says, on the other hand, he talks about it. Wait, let me just read part of this. It really happened. Trump won convincingly, just as I predicted. So I don't need to publish a retraction or correction today like we are due from so many liberals for their substitution of wishful thinking for reasoned analysis in the lead up to the election. And I'm going to show you how even the media is starting to unite behind Trump, even the left-wing media like Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski. On the other hand, he writes, I don't want to waste your time and mine rehashing all the reasons why Trump won, or more significantly, why Kamala lost. In retrospect, the possibility of a Harris victory seems as remote as Trump winning the Hispanic male vote. Oh, wait, he says. So instead, let's look forward. In particular, the example he gives is of Rodney King. He says that seems appropriate. King was famously the victim of the televised beating in 91. 4 officers were found not guilty the following year. And then you had the L.A. riots that erupted, leading King to make his appeal for calm. He said, people, I just want to say to you, I just want to say, can we all get along? And we all remember that. So King was a victim, but here's where the unity comes in. King was also a man who put aside his own pain, and he embraced the possibility of a better world that his pain brought. A world where we could all get along. And I got to tell you guys something. I lived during that era, and that happened. I saw America, in my opinion, come together like I hadn't seen before, different races and so on, etc., after that King beating, because people united in disgust of what happened. Now, nobody liked the riots. We all thought that was bad, because then we united in disgust of the LA riots. But there came some unity. He says that world seems as distant as ever today, but maybe that's because we haven't fully understood what it means to get along. For Rodney King, it meant simply, can we stop killing each other? Can we stop spiraling out of control, looking for revenge and expecting perfection from others while we ourselves are less than perfect? Those were big questions. But for us American citizens, in the wake of the 2024 election, it also means confronting just how far apart we are in philosophy, in goals, and tactics, and then deciding if we want to stay together or get a divorce. The possibility of a shooting civil war is remote at best, thank God. That's me adding the thank God. But if we continue to move in opposite directions, it will be hard to achieve the unity that many of our leaders espouse. And if this is a national crisis, it is also a personal one. I doubt I'm the only one who has been confronted with friends and family members who are so disheartened by the nation's rejection of Kamala, and particularly the elevation of Trump, that they hold me personally responsible. This despite the fact that I rarely talk politics except in my own home or in my columns. He says, I believe those personal relationships can be healed by time, because politics is only a small part of how we get along on an individual level. But when it comes to bringing together two political parties that are diametrically opposed on border policy, taxes, military readiness, spending, think about this. We're diametrically opposed. How do you find unity in this stuff? All right. So on border policy, do you think you're going to find compromise when it comes to the left? What, we just let 5 million illegal aliens come into the country? And then you have this argument that's being made, and I'm going to have to make an argument to debunk this. The arguments being made with, oh man, we don't have anybody out here, sounding like straight up slavery. We don't have anybody out here that will pick the fruit. Listen, you can let people come in seasonally. Someone made a great argument that I heard today. All right, that's about 1.7 million people. If there's 1.7 million migrants that are needed during a season in order to do, all right, so on, so be it. They can hook up their homies in their own country. I totally get it. But that also means that there's another, 13, 14 million out there that shouldn't be here. Okay. All right. So I think the mass deportations, they need to happen. But look at all these things: military readiness, spending, crime, abortion, lawfare, government expansionism. how can we come together on that? He says the question becomes, how do we restore normalcy to our civic discourse? How do we avoid recriminations and self-congratulation? And most importantly, how can President-elect Trump, with his MAGA mandate, govern in order to bring about the unity that he says he wants? What exactly would that unity even look like? Is it possible to unify abortion rights advocates with anti-abortion stalwarts, proponents of globalism with America First nationalism, those who protect illegal immigrants with those who mourn the needless murders and rapes that an open border has caused? The common idea of unity is bipartisanship or compromise. The winning side will generously surrender a portion of its power in order to let the losing side claim some victories as well. Now, isn't that the type of unity that we want to see? Bipartisanship? No, that's not what people voted for. That doesn't mean that we totally ignore the needs of the people that are on the left. It means that we fight for the betterment of everybody, despite their pain. That's me. This is the fantasy version of unity he talks about. No party in power will surrender its ability to promote its agenda if it has true principles rather than duplicitous pragmatism, nor should it. A more realistic view of unity is the Civil War model. Yikes. But listen, two sides are diametrically opposed. One side will prevail. You fight like hell to make sure it is yours. President Lincoln's goal wasn't to crush the South, but that result was necessary in order to ensure that his vision of one nation is indivisible. You see, if we allow the left's vision of unity to prevail, then it means bowing the knee to everything that is godless and unbiblical and that you don't believe in. On the other hand, well, Carl, you're a hypocrite. You're on the right because you're telling those on the left to do that. Yeah, I'm not a hypocrite, though. What I'm telling the left to do is to act American, to follow the Constitution, to allow for free speech to happen. And that's the fight that I want to happen. There should be no censorship. There should be judges that uphold the Constitution. I shouldn't be paying for your abortion. I shouldn't be paying more of my hard-earned dollars to you. No, there shouldn't be illegal immigrants that are allowed into this country willy-nilly when no other country in the whole freaking world does it. No. What is unifying is, yes, we should all have a military that isn't woke, a military that is such a powerful fighting force that nobody wants to mess with any of us, and we should be energy independent. All right? Make life a little more affordable for all of us. That's what we're fighting for, those of us that are on the quote-unquote right. So he said, so it must be for Donald Trump in the wake of his historic victory. The public has given him his marching orders, and he intends to follow them relentlessly, bringing real change to the way government works. His first term provided mostly ephemeral results, with the exception of the Supreme Court justices, 3 of them. The wall was built and then unbuilt. American energy was unleashed and then unleashed again. Peace was on its way in the Middle East with the Abraham Accords, and then dashed into a million pieces by Hamas. Basically, when it comes to unity, we should fight for the policies, those of us on the right, that benefit all of us. And guess what? When those policies benefit all of us, people will start saying, wait a minute, okay, I can dig this. As a matter of fact, that's just what we witnessed in the election. And now we're starting to watch it in media. I want to play a couple of video clips for you. If I have the right video clips in front of me, because I skipped around. All right, so here's what I do. This is not good. So I write my notes down on notepads, and I actually have 2 notepads in front of me, and I got to make sure that I have the right pad. Oh man, this is not good. And Gabe is like, come on, you moron. All right, let me see where I put, excuse me, as I flip through these pages on my firmly printed fingertips. I literally don't know what I did with my notes of the videos. And here it is, actually, Gabe. Look at that. I cut it out and put it aside. I was just testing Gabe to see if he would ever chime in and say, Carl, remember? But no, he didn't. He left me hanging to look foolish on my own podcast. All right, so let's do this. All right, let's go to video clip. I think it's number 1. Joe Scarborough, Mika Brzezinski, then and now, video clips number 1 and video clips number 2, if they're not duplicates. I want to show you guys that winning unites people, including the media. All right, let's watch this. Video clip 1, please, Gabe.
And then he says that the news network that is most critical of him should be taken off the air. This is not a reach. I could go back and talk about Nazi Germany, and I do it without any concerns whatsoever. And if people can't start drawing the parallels, well, you're just stupid, or you have your head in the sand, or you're one of them.
Over the past week, Joe and I have heard from so many people, from political leaders to regular citizens, deeply dismayed by several of President-elect Trump's cabinet selections, and they are scared. Last Thursday, we expressed our own concerns on this broadcast and even said we would appreciate the opportunity to speak with the president-elect himself. On Friday, we were given the opportunity to do just that. Joe and I went to Mar-a-Lago to meet personally with President-elect Trump. It was the first time we have seen him in 7 years.
Now, we talked about a lot of issues, including abortion, mass deportation, threats of political retribution against political opponents, and media outlets. We talked about that a good bit. And it's going to come as no surprise to anybody who watches this show, has watched it over the past year or over the past decade, that we didn't see eye to eye on a lot of issues, and we told him so.
What we did agree on was to restart communications. My father often spoke with world leaders with whom he and the United States profoundly disagreed. That's a task shared by reporters and commentators alike. We had not spoken to President Trump since March of 2020, other than a personal call Joe made to Trump on the morning after the attempt on his life in Butler, Pennsylvania. In this meeting, President Trump was cheerful, he was upbeat, he seemed interested in finding common ground with Democrats on some of the most divisive issues. And for those asking why we would go speak to the president-elect during such fraught times, especially between us, I guess I would ask back, why wouldn't we? 5 years of political warfare has deeply divided Washington and the country. We have been as clear as we know how in expressing our deep concerns about President Trump's actions and words in the coarsening of public debate. But for nearly 80 million Americans, election denialism, public trials, and January 6th were not as important as the issues that moved them to send Donald Trump back to the White House with their vote. Joe and I realize it's time to do something different. And that starts with not only talking about Donald Trump, but also talking with him.
Okay. Listen, Trump had a different or has a different relationship with them. Obviously, I wouldn't have invited them to Mar-a-Lago. These people called him Hitler, called him a Nazi. Their words almost got him killed, not theirs alone. I want you to understand who Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski are. They're not real journalists. These are paid entertainers. They're paid entertainers. If you believed that someone was Hitler, that they were an existential threat to democracy, you wouldn't want anything to do with them. Anything to do with them. We watched a video of then and now. That then video, I think that was weeks, days before the election. And then you have this, their donors now agree that it's time to calm things down too. Basically, guys, listen, we lost bad. You want to keep your jobs. You want to be around and report on Trump. I don't know. This is insane. They're entertainers. So the next time if their show sticks around, you're watching Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski, just know when it comes to politics, when it comes to them talking about Republicans, they're entertainers. You can't believe a word they say. You don't go visit Hitler. You don't do that. You don't do that. Unless you believe that he wasn't. So now they want to unify. Except, I doubt that their attitudes will be the same in 2026, 2028. And I wonder how hyperbolic they'll say if their show is still around. All right, so what a miraculous change. Now, here's the true. Here's the true leftist. This is Jen Psaki, video clip number 3. This is who the left really is. This is who the Democrat Party really is. And they don't know what the heck to do about it. Actually, let's roll this video clip of number Jen Psaki.
A lot of soul searching right now going on within the Democratic Party, and that's a good thing. But what I worry about is that in the course of all that soul searching, some Democrats might reach the wrong sweeping conclusions. And there are a lot of issues that fall into that bucket. But one in particular that stuck out to me is transgender rights. Republicans spent hundreds of millions of dollars on anti-trans ads this election cycle, including one that showed Vice President Harris talking about government funding for gender reaffirming care for prisoners and detainees. If that sounds like a particularly obscure issue, it is, because it applies to a tiny group of people. And it's also a policy that, by the way, was in place during the first Trump presidency. Another one of the lines that ran over and over again in those ads and throughout right-wing media is this idea that America is faced with a crisis of boys playing in girls' sports. Now, these ads created this perception that the issues of trans kids playing sports was dominating schools across the country, which is completely false. Some people got pulled into that argument. I mean, immediately after the election, Congressman Seth Moulton told the New York Times that, quote, Democrats spend way too much time trying not to offend anyone rather than being brutally honest about the challenges many Americans face. I have 2 little girls. I don't want them getting run over on a playing field by a male or formerly male athlete. But as a Democrat, I'm supposed to be afraid to say that. And then last weekend, Congressman Moulton came on this network to discuss those comments.
I was just speaking authentically as a dad about one of many issues where I think we're just out of touch with the majority of voters. And I stand by my position. You know, maybe I didn't get all the words exactly right. But the point is that the backlash I've received proves my point that we can't even have these discussions as a party.
Look, reflection is good. But if that were actually an issue at thousands of schools across the country, it would be worthy of a debate. But there are just incredibly few examples of transgender girls playing in
all right, cut
sports.
This
and
is,
when we see those examples, there isn't evidence that these...
We're done with this one, Gabe. All right, this is proof positive that the left-wing media, that's the true left-wing media. Joe and Mika Joe Scarborough, Mika, they're married, so whatever. They're paid entertainers. Jen Psaki is a woman of the left. There's not an issue with trans sports. Have you seen Riley Gaines? You've heard of Leah Thomas? You've seen that more and more trans players, men pretending to be women, are participating in girls' sports. You've not seen that phenomena? You've not seen more kids on social media talking about I'm they, them, identifying as that and all that kind of madness. You've not seen that yet? No, she believes in that stuff. Those are her values. There was an article in the New York Post, a great article, Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi is, they were calling her the godmother once she was able to, she's the Don, once she was able to stage this coup against Joe Biden, they were calling her the godmother. And now Nancy Pelosi is taking a lot of flock for being the primary reason that Joe Biden, that Democrats lost with Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris spent, now there's reports, upwards of over $2 billion. And now they're finding out that she gave even more money to some of these entertainers like Oprah Winfrey. She spent $1 billion in the swing states and she lost every single county. And Nancy Pelosi was taking a lot of the blame, and she doesn't want to take the blame. Now she's thinking about running again, or actually she filled out paperwork to run for re-election, I believe in 2026. The lady is like 86 years old. I mean, it's absolutely insane. And the left is too scared to tell her, no, Nancy, you're not coming back. She's the reason. She and Barack Obama are the reasons, in part politically, why the United States has become so divisive. And so the left has got to decide if they're going to be Jen Psakis, if they're going to try to find somebody that's a little more moderate. They were talking about Josh Shapiro, but Josh Shapiro, you guys hear about this case in Philadelphia, the election denier, Bob Casey, Senator Bob Casey does not want to concede still to Senator-elect Bob McCormick in Pennsylvania. That's how Democrats always act. Every election cycle, they're election deniers. Every election cycle, but the media won't give them any play. They're literally trying to steal a seat. I don't know where hopefully the RNC is involved. I believe I heard some good news that the RNC is involved. But I'd like to see Trump in front and center and loud on this particular case with Bob Casey calling him an election denier, trying to steal the Senate seat from McCormick. The guy doesn't want to give up the seat because it's all he's known. Democrats don't go to Washington to make the country a better place. They go to Washington to make their pockets fatter. And that's the case with too many of these politicians. But it's amazing. It's amazing. The media is getting in line, not necessarily with Jen Psaki. She's still trying to convince the left. They got some changing they can do. Now, I want to show you how the Trump's victory has united the culture, has united men, strong men. Let's watch video clip number 3. UFC champion, heavyweight champion, I believe, John Jones. I want you to listen to this video and watch this video of him. By the way, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you go to get your podcast: Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, and Rumble. All things social media at The Carl Jackson Show. This is John Jones. Let's play video clip number 3, please, Gabe. John Jones, and then later you guys may have seen the video. Well, we won't play it for the sake of time, but he goes out and he presents President-elect Donald Trump with his belt. They shake hands, give each other, pats and stuff like this. Now I want to play maybe just a couple of these. There's several of them. I don't want to go through all of them, but maybe let's play a couple, Gabe, maybe number 4 and 5. NFL players that are doing the little, I'm going to call it the Trump shuffle. You know what I'm saying? Just waving your hands off beat, doing a little shuffle. Let's roll video clip number 4. Video clip number 5, please.
Smith, Zadarius Smith with a sack in his Lion.
You know what? Let's play one more. Let's play 6. Winning brings unity. Guys, they were kneeling in the NFL a few years back. Now they're doing the Trump shuffle, as I'm calling it. Now they're doing the Trump shuffle. I think we have a culture that's proud to be American again. And I think people are breathing a sigh of relief. Now, the work doesn't get started until after January 20th. Right now, everyone's just excited, so excited to get rid of Biden and Harris. It's unbelievable. But America, I think Americans are so excited, and they're looking forward to a Trump administration because Americans are feeling like we can breathe and we can dream again. It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. Now, obviously, you don't want to overshoot, take your win for granted, but borders, economy, crime, those issues have to calm down. And then I think Trump, he may not be a lame duck president. He may be able to retain control, or the Republicans may be in 2026. Now, let me just share a couple of things, too, and I'll close it with this. We have to defeat the left in order to unite the country. And we'll defeat the left by doing what's best for everyone, where everyone benefits. People thrive in capitalism. People thrive with freedom. People thrive with freedom of speech. People thrive when they get to keep more of their hard-earned That shouldn't happen here. New York brings back controversial congestion toll program. So Kathy Hochul, actually, I think we have a video on that. I don't really want to hear it, but anyway, Kathy Hochul. Let me just read the summary if I can find it real quick. But basically, there was a toll that Kathy Hochul is bringing back. Governor Kathy Hochul, otherwise the nanny of New York. Crud. Okay. Anyway, it's not. My computer is freezing up. But I want you to understand something. If I can find this really quick, forgive me here. Actually, let's do this. What number is that? Gabe, let's play number 11, please. Kathy Hochul, we're saving you 40% by, starting to charge $9 to enter Manhattan instead of $15. So there was zero fee apparently to enter Manhattan. And then Kathy Hochul says, wait a minute, we're going to save you 40% because this fee that did not exist is only going to be $9 instead of $15. That's she thinks she's been merciful. People are suffering through inflation. Actually, we don't need to play the video. People are suffering with inflation, and you've got the nanny of New York, Governor Kathy Hochul, saying we're saving you 40% by starting to charge $9 to hit and to enter Manhattan instead of $15 as we originally planned. This lower toll will save daily commuters nearly $1,500 annually. It's going to save you money that you weren't spending before. In another story, in California is looking to increase property insurance for homeowners. Now, let me find the reason, and then I promise we'll end this thing. But I think this is important that you understand who the left is. The left is still out there. You heard Jen Psaki. They still exist. Oh, man, it's not letting me pull this up. They still exist. And then Kathy Hochul, you're going to spend $9 instead of $15. You should be thankful to me that I'm only going to charge you $9 to enter into Manhattan. Unbelievable. And then you have this. Gavin Newsom. California homeowners may face noticeable insurance rate hikes under new rules finalized by state regulators that allow property insurers to use complex climate algorithms, what consumer advocates call secret black box, quote unquote, models to set prices. California's property insurance rates are set by the state, which has led many property insurers such as State Farm and Allstate to stop accepting new customers or leave the state entirely. With payouts from wildfires and other disasters exceeding insurance premiums, insurers have no choice but to call it quits. At the same time, rising property insurance costs are pushing homeowners to other states. They're kicking all the poor people out of California. They're making it impossible for you to afford it, and they're using the guise of climate change to milk you out of more money. This is the left. That's who the left is. This is why we have to, if we defeat the left, if we defeat their wacky ideas, we'll bring about unity. That's real unity. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in to the Carl Jackson Show. Until next time, don't grow weary doing good. God bless you.